Hi, welcome to your virtual orientation for the 24.5 RBS Jay Flight by Jayco. We're going to start the orientation on the outside of the RV, and we're going to begin at the front. First thing we're going to talk about is the battery storage compartment here. The battery is stored via this drawer system. And as we make our way along the front, we'll make note of your pin box here, as well as your safety breakaway switch here. Your safety breakaway switch is connected to the tow vehicle via the loop end, and the other end is connected to the RV via this pin. In the event that your RV becomes separated from the tow vehicle, this pin will be pulled free of the housing, engaging the trailer brakes. Also, I've seen a time or two where this gets caught up and stuff while you're doing the hitch up, and the pin gets partially pulled free of the housing, but not far enough that you might notice it initially. So if you do your hitch up and you notice that the brakes are engaged and they shouldn't be, come back here and check to make sure that the pin is fully seated inside the housing here. This is also the storage point for your wire harness. And also on the front, we have a storage compartment via latch system here. Some things you can find in the storage compartment would be your 30 amp power cord, the pole for the awning, as well as the manual cranks for your spare tire and for the slide. We'll take this with us for later when I show you how to put the awning out. So we continue to make our way along the outside of the RV. The next thing we'll come to is this little door here. First thing you come to on the off door side, and this is where you'll find the extension and retraction of the front landing gear. And one thing I forgot to show on the front was the propane storage. So we'll come back around here and show you the propane storage. Right now there are no bottles in here. They needed to be revalved, so we don't have the bottles, but this will be a double 30-pound bottle storage system with a crossover regulator. You'll see that this regulator at this moment would be pointing in this direction to this tank over here, if it were here. So once this tank drops below a predetermined amount of pressure, the crossover regulator will automatically cross over and draw from the other 30-pound bottle. Now that predetermined amount of pressure is determined by the regulator, and we cannot adjust that. So on cold nights, you don't have to get out and manually switch over bottles if you're running your furnace. That's always handy. Okay, continue to make our way along the outside of the RV. The next thing we're going to come to is your outside access to your hot water tank. So the important things to note here: the drain plug and the pressure relief valve. Anytime that you're wishing to drain your hot water tank, it's always a good idea to open a pressure relief valve before you remove the plug, as this plug will, when the tank is fully pressurized, this plug will come shooting out pretty hard. Next door to the hot water tank outside access, we have your city water connection. Your city water connection is where you connect the garden hose from either your house or the campground. Once you turn the tap on for the garden hose, it will pressurize the water system via this connection point, and you can use your water inside the RV much like you would the water in your home. We have an outside shower here, and then we also have your 30 amp power connection point. So that cable that I showed you in the front storage compartment there can be utilized at this point and then connected to your campground power supply or the power at home. Now, most of us don't have a 30 amp receptacle on the outside of our home, So in order to connect to power at your home, we provide a 13 amp conversion block that you will find inside the RV. Now that 15 amp conversion block will only allow you to utilize a 15 amp receptacle, which means the AC will not be able to run. Also in this area we have the main input for the cable or satellite TV right here. And if we drop down, we will see that we have the output for your black and gray water, and the valve handles here and here for the black and gray water tanks respectively. Also on the rear we have your stabilization jacks. These stabilization jacks can be used with the manual crank I showed you at the front there. And these should not be used to level the RV, only to stabilize once the RV is pretty much fully level. It's a good idea to travel with some blocking. I'd recommend 6x6s in case you're parked or camped in a location that isn't even. You may find that the travel on these jacks isn't enough to reach the ground. So we come around the outside, you'll see that we have ladder access to the roof. Another thing we'd like to talk about on the outside here is the venting for refrigerator. That's what this is here. It's important that this remains obstruction free at all times, as we need maximum airflow through the venting for the refrigerator to operate optimally. And directly below we have the exhaust for the furnace. This is very hot. It does say that on here, but whenever we have the furnace exhaust outside underneath the awning, I like to make sure that I make special note of it, as it's more likely that you could come in contact with it. We also have 120 volt power under the awning, and we have your potable water fill point. This potable water fill point is what you'd use with your garden hose in order to fill your freshwater tank. You would do that if you plan on using the outboard water pump to draw water from the freshwater tank. Some people will do that if they're camping off grid, or sometimes there's just not a water supply at a campsite, or the water supplied is not potable. So in any of those cases, you would fill the freshwater tank here. The drain for the freshwater tank is right here. So you have to make sure it's closed, and if you wish to drain the tank, you open it. So the last thing we'll show you before we go inside is the awning. This is a manual awning, so not electric, not mechanized, but in order to utilize it, we have to unlock each arm first. Now I will note this would, and as you can see up here, up in this area, we have the mechanism for extension and retraction of your awning, and that's done with this little thing here. It's behind the lock, with it all the way down here. That's in the close position. Push it all the way up like it is, and now it's in the open position. So now that it's in the open position, I will find the loop end here. There we go. So here we have it. Your awning's out. Great. Now how do we adjust the awning from here? We have these arms that will help lock it in place, but we also have these handles here. That is in the lock position. That is the unlock position. With it unlocked, we can slide the awning arm in and out. You do the same on both sides. That'll change the pitch here. Either bring it up or down. Right now it's fully pitched as low as it'll go. And then once you have the pitch set, you slide the awning arm up to lock it into place. You'll have to do the same on both awning arms. Now we have to slide this down to put it into closed position. We're gonna now grab onto this here. So we're gonna let this go in, retract the awning. There we are. Awning's retracted. Make sure both arms are locked in. We'll make sure this arm is locked in. Now you're ready to travel again. Put our handy little hook here back in the front. So that about does it for all of the outside stuff for this RV. Let's take a look inside and we'll see what kind of features that we might be able to find. First thing through the door, you'll notice the fire extinguisher. I love this location. It's easily accessible outside and inside. The next thing we'll notice is your indication panel, marking the battery, fresh, black, and gray water tank levels. And we have switching for your water pump, water heater on gas, and water heater on electric. You don't need to go outside to light the water heater. You simply turn on the button and it should light just fine. If there has not been pressure built up in the system, then you may need to bleed the system a little bit. The easiest way to run the air out of the system and light all the appliances is to light the stovetop first. Kind of helps bleed some of the air out and build up pressure, and then it's easier to ignite the fridge and hot water tank and everything else. We also have control for the move the slide in and out, as well as lights for the underneath for outside here. Sorry, I don't know if you can see it in the daylight there, but the outside light is on, and we have lighting for inside the main part of the RV as well. First thing, we'll come to your DVD player radio combination. It has the power button up here, open and close function for the DVD player, stop, play, so on. Come up to the bedroom area. We have some under bed storage, supported with a prop. Also in this area we have your emergency exit. In order to work the emergency exit, we will push down on this gray tab, move the red handle over and out, bring it perpendicular to the sidewall of the RV, push it out. Once the handle is fully out of the window, you can grab what used to be the tab here, but really you can just grab onto the screen and just pull it straight out of the window, and then you may escape to safety if need be. Next thing that we're going to look at is your carbon monoxide propane detector. You'll see that there is a green light on here. The green light indicates that the system is functioning properly. It is, however, a good idea to test this every so often. The recommended testing is to test when you do the smoke detector, right up here. Test the smoke detector. The standard convention for testing those are every 6 months or when you do the time change. And I just find it's easier to remember for this as well, to test this at the same time that you replace the batteries in your smoke detector. When you do test this, you'll use the button on the front. You'll hear a series of loud beeps. The light will change colors, and if the system is good to go, it'll go back to green. And it says right on here that a green light indicates that it's on and working. A red light is your alarm, and if the light is yellow, then it says to replace the detector itself. It is also worth noting that different items might set this off, that it's not intended to. The most common being paint. So as we continue to make our way around the inside here, the next thing we'll come to is your range top or cooktop. This has an automatic sparking system. If you turn to the light position and then turn the knob, it'll spark and light it. Pretty easy. The oven itself does not have a self-igniting, so you have to reach in here where the pilot is with your barbecue lighter or whatever you choose, and while you're reaching there and light your ignition source, you also have to press and hold this knob in. Sounds harder than it really is. It's really quite simple to light. Directly below here, we have your power center, your load center. This is where you'll find the breakers, much like you'd see in your home, and they function the same way. And the fuses, again, like you might see in your motor vehicle. The next thing we'll look at is your refrigerator here. It has electrical and propane or gas functioning. It'll function on electricity automatically first when you put it on the auto setting. So if electricity is present, it will use the electricity. If there is no electricity, it will then search and try to light on gas. If you want it to light on gas only, you would switch it to the gas setting, and it will attempt to light on gas. If it's unable to light on gas, you will see that these lights will flash here. Common reasons why it may not light would be the valves aren't open on the bottles, propane bottles out front, or there's no pressure built up in the system, and it's just not a sufficient amount of pressure or gas in order to light the appliance. Again, in that case, that's why I would recommend maybe lighting the burners on the stove first, get the air out of the lines, draw the propane out, and then all the appliances are much easier to light at that time. We step into the bathroom. It's a good sized bathroom. Fan. One thing we'll make special note of is in this cabinet down here, we have the access to your hot water tank. And the important thing to access here for the hot water tank is the valves here and here. Those will be used in order to bypass your hot water tank. At the moment, water is flowing this way and then into the tank, this way and out. If you want to bypass, you will close this, and then open this valve, so turn it the opposite way, and then the water will flow like this. The reason for bypassing the hot water tank would be for winterizing. There's no need to run or fill your water tank with antifreeze, waste of antifreeze, so they give you a means to bypass it. It just makes it a lot easier. Next thing we'll come to is your thermostat. We have the setting on cool, just fan, off, or then heat, and then you can control the fan setting separately. You can just automatically have the fan on, high or low, or you can have it on an auto setting on high or low. To control the temperature, you merely slide this knob up and down. Now, the AC unit has these baffles along the side. With these baffles open, the majority of the air will fall directly here. With the baffles closed like that, the majority of the air will fall from these ports located throughout the RV. This particular unit has an antenna that you need to extend and retract. You do so via this here. It has instructions on it to show you which way to turn to go up and which way to turn to go down. Always make sure you put it down after you're done using it. I would even suggest when it's not in use, it's easy to forget that it is up on the roof and extend it up. So it does make your essentially your roof height quite a bit higher, so you could catch it on quite a few things if you forget to put it down. Okay, as we squat down underneath the sink here, we will show you the water pump. There's your water pump in all of its glory, just ready to be used. You'll see here we have your fill tube. This is what you would use to winterize the RV. Use this fill tube to draw antifreeze from an antifreeze jug, pull it through the pump in order to run it through the entire system. At the moment, this is set up to run through here, however, which will draw water from the freshwater tank. In order to switch to draw from the fill tube, we have to close this valve and open this one. However, you're not required to winterize yourself. We're more than happy to do that for you, but it's always a good idea to know where everything is and how it functions, even if you don't intend to do it on your own. Now earlier when I was outside, I made mention of the conversion block from a 30 amp to a 15, and here it is here. And this is where you'll find it when you get your RV. Last thing I'll talk about is the GFCI for the unit, right here. At the moment we're not connected to shore power, so you will not see a light on, but you can see the reset button and the test button. If I were to press the test button with it connected to power, it would disconnect power to anything on the load side of the GFCI. Basically it acts like a little circuit breaker, so if there's a little spike or a jump in anything, it will short out the plug instead of anything connected to it, and protect basically anything on the load side of this GFCI plug. So if you find any plugs near water or a countertop, or any of your outside plugs, so think bathroom or the kitchen or anything outside, it should be on the load side of the GFCI. So if they're not working, I would come check here, press the reset button, and see if they are now functioning. If not, I would check your load center next. That sums up our tour for today. I hope you found it informative. If there's something that we've missed that was important to you and we didn't cover it, please don't be afraid to give us a call, and we'll do our best to help you troubleshoot any issues you might have. Thank you very much, and enjoy. Congratulations.